called Rosenwald schools. Built between 1912 and 1937, they provided an opportunity for hundreds of thousands of poor African Americans to be educated in the segregated South. In fact, their construction has been called one of the most effective philanthropic endeavors of the 20th century. But the story of the schools and their benefactor remain largely unknown today. We traveled to Georgia last week to learn about the past and the impact of these institutions and what they're still having on us today.
From above, it seems ordinary, a simple white house an hour northwest of Atlanta. But when the Noble Hill School was constructed nearly 100 years ago, it was revolutionary.
This was my school. Before the Civil War, we weren't even allowed to be taught.
Marion Coleman and 4 generations of her family were educated here, one of thousands of schoolhouses built over 3 decades that transformed African American education in the rural South.
We weren't really free to do or to think that we could accomplish more. But when we were able to get the school, and this just made the foundation so that we could really believe in ourselves, and the teachers helped us to know that we were able to move forward now.
They became known as Rosenwald schools, named after wealthy industrialist Julius Rosenwald, the president of retail giant Sears.
This is an important Southern story. This is an important American story. This story transforms America.
Photographer Andrew Filer is telling that story in black and white. A story that grew out of a friendship between Rosenwald, the son of Jewish immigrants, and noted educator Booker T. Washington, founding president of the Tuskegee Institute.
From Tuskegee, the institute which he founded.
Together, they sought to reverse years of inequality in education because of slavery and segregation.
This story are the pillars of my life. The relationship between Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington is the foundation of the Black-Jewish alliance that becomes a pillar of the civil rights movement.
In 1912, they launched a pilot program, building 6 schools in Alabama, requiring local communities to donate the land and raise matching funds.
What were they trying to defeat?
Schools started off as being segregated. They were trying to get through that part.
What does that do to a child?
Well, to me, that would dishearten them and give them make them feel like they didn't matter.
Within 25 years, 4,978 schools were built across 15 states, buildings of basic design, 2 rooms with a removable partition, large windows to let in light, and a plain exterior to avoid unwanted attention.
These little schools had such a profound impact. Can you put it into words?
There are economists at the Federal Reserve Bank that have done 5 studies of Rosenwald schools, and what their analysis shows is that prior to World War I, there was a large and persistent black-white education gap in the South. That gap closes precipitously between World War I and World War II. And the single greatest driver of that achievement, and it is an achievement, is Rosenwald schools.
I think of our educational system today.
Yes.
I wonder what could be learned from a deeper dive into the Rosenwald history.
We often think that problems in America, public policy problems in America, are so intractable, particularly those related to race. At the center of this story is Julius Rosenwald and Booker T. Washington reaching across divides of race, religion, and region, partnering with black communities and white school boards to fundamentally change America.
Only about 500 schools remain, relics of a time before legal segregation ended in 1954. Some have been repurposed or rebuilt, but many are in disrepair, forgotten by the communities they served. Filer spent 3.5 years documenting them. His photographs are on display at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta, an effort to help preserve their legacy.
Why don't we know this?
Julius Rosenwald is a very modest man. He did not name these schools Rosenwald schools. They become known as Rosenwald schools. One of the reasons why we don't know the Rosenwald name as much as we know the names of some of his philanthropic contemporaries like Carnegie, Rockefeller, Ford.
They were monument builders.
They were.
He was a legacy builder.
Yes.
That legacy is still being felt. Many of those educated at Rosenwald schools went on to higher education and in turn educated future generations. And prominent leaders of the civil rights movement like Medgar Evers, Maya Angelou, and Congressman John Lewis came through these institutions. Today, Noble Hill is a museum run by Marion's niece, Valerie. Generations removed from the school, but steeped in its history.
It's not just African American history to us, it's also American history. This is not just a job for me, this is legacy.
It is such an amazing place to go and to see how a community has so embraced or re-embraced this school. I knew nothing about these schools.
Makes me want to visit Noble Hill.
I know. But there is a book that that Filer put together, A Better Life for Their Children, the foreword written by John Lewis.
Oh, wow.
And in it he says, their partnership demonstrates that concerted action can make America better and the world better. Education is the cornerstone of democracy.
Come across the aisle, come across colors, come across religion, come together and educate.
Yes.
Beautiful piece, Michelle.
Thank
What
you.
A great
Thank
story.
you. Chris Leibel, shout out to him as well.
Great job, Chris.
And Gloria. That's it.